Students, today we'll continue with the chapter 1, Matter in Our Surroundings. In the previous video, we have learned that particles of matter have space between them with activities. Today, let's learn the remaining two. Particles of matter are continuously moving as they possess kinetic energy. The kinetic energy of the particles increases with the rise in temperature, which makes the particles move faster. Put an unlit incense stick in a corner of a room. You can't smell the incense stick at a distance, whereas you can smell the fragrance of the incense stick at a distance when it is lit. We infer that particles of matter intermix on their own, occupying the spaces between the particles of air. The intermingling of substances by the natural movement of their particles is called diffusion. Also, diffusion is faster with increase in temperature. The activity shows that particles of matter are continuously moving. An example of how diffusion takes place in the nature around us. Oxygen and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere dissolves and mixes into the water surface. This diffusion process helps the survival of aquatic plants and animals. Characteristic of matter, particles of matter attract each other. To prove particles of matter have force of attraction between them. To compare the force of attraction in solids such as iron nail, a piece of chalk and a rubber band. It's not easy to break an iron nail as the force of attraction between the particles in iron nail is strong, whereas a piece of chalk can be easily broken as the force of attraction between the particles of chalk is less compared to iron nail. The rubber band can be stretched easily due to its elastic nature as the force of attraction is less than chalk and iron. Now, to compare the force of attraction in water and air. Try moving your hand in water and air. It is easy to move in water and even more free to move in air. This activity proves force of attraction keeps the particles of matter together, but the strength of this force of attraction varies from one kind of matter to another. With the help of various activities that we have learned so far about the variation in the characteristics of particles of matter, we understand that there are different states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Let's learn the properties of matter in detail. Shape and volume. Solids have definite shape, distinct boundaries, and volume. Liquids take the shape of the container, no definite shape but has definite volume. Gases have no definite shape and volume. The next property is intermolecular space. It's nothing but space between the particles of matter. In solids, the space between the particles are very less since the particles are tightly packed. In liquids, the space between the particles are more than solids since the particles in liquids are loosely packed. In gases, space between the particles are more than liquids and solids since the particles in gases are very loosely packed. Now, next property is force of attraction. Particles are tightly packed in solids, so the force of attraction between the particles are more in solids. In liquids, particles are loosely packed when compared to solids. So, force of attraction is lesser than solids. In gases, particles are even more loosely packed than liquids. So, the force of attraction is lesser than liquids and solids. Let's learn few more properties in detail. Rigidity. Solids resist change in shape or volume because the intermolecular attraction between particles are high as compared to liquids and gases. Liquids have low rigidity, almost near zero. Gases have no rigidity. The next property is fluidity. Solids have no fluidity. Liquids flow easily. Gases flow in all directions. The next property is compressibility. Solids have very negligible compressibility. Liquids are less compressible. Gases are highly compressible. Now let's see movement of particles. Movement in solids are highly restricted and negligible. Movement of particles are more in liquids than solids. Gases show random movement at high speed. Diffusion. Solids have very minimal diffusion rate. Diffusion rate of liquids are higher than solids. Diffusion rate of gases are higher than liquids and solids. Few unique properties of certain solids. On stretching rubber band, which is a solid, it changes its shape, but it regains its shape when the force is removed because of its elastic property. When sugar or salt is kept in a jar, it takes the shape of the jar even though it is a solid. There is no change in the shape of an individual salt or sugar crystal. Sponge is a solid substance, but it can be compressed. It is because the air inside the sponge is expelled out when it is compressed. Let's look at the theory of an activity to understand the compressibility of solid, liquid and gas. Take three different syringes, fill it with chalk powder, water and air, and make sure the other end of the piston is closed in all the three syringes. Try to press the piston of the syringes. The syringe with chalk powder cannot be compressed. The syringe with water can be compressed to a very small extent, whereas the syringe with air can be easily compressed to a greater extent compared to the chalk powder and water. This proves that gases are more compressible than liquids and solids. Gases are compressible because most of the volume of a gas is composed of the larger amount of empty space between the gas particles. That is, the intermolecular space is very high as compared to liquids and solids.